Hello, and welcome to another episode of TarValon Talks. I'm Doll, and today I'm joined by Fenya and Thad, and we're going to chat about rereading The Wheel of Time. Should you or should you not reread it? How many times have you reread it? And if you like The Wheel of Time, what other books do you recommend? So, I have read all of the books at least once. I've read everything but the last book twice. And some of the first couple books I've read 3 times, maybe. First book I've read, the first 3 chapters, many times.
It's very easy to do that.
But I've only read it all the way through 3 times, I think. Thad, I think you're much further than me.
Yeah, I've read the whole series probably about a good 20, 30 times.
That's a lot.
I've been doing it since the 90s, though, so I've got the time.
Yeah.
It's not like I did it all in a few years. It takes me about a year, if not a little longer, to do a full reread because it's not the only thing I read, and I try to keep it at about a book a month. But that means I'm perpetually rereading this series, and somehow it doesn't get old.
I have books like that, but not The Wheel of Time.
You've only read it once.
I've only read it once. I guess technically I've read the first 2.5 books twice because I had my failed attempt at reading it the very first time. But since finishing the series, I haven't had a chance to go back and reread.
Well, there's never a better time than now.
Yeah.
I would like to. It's just a matter of finding the time and balancing that with all of the other books that I want to read.
Forget about the other books. You got Wheel of Time. What else do you need?
You don't need any other books.
True. Who needs other books when I can just read Robert Jordan?
Who needs diversity when you have The Wheel of Time, which is full of diversity?
There's so many skirts that can be smoothed and braids that be tucked. So for me, it just takes a lot longer to read in general. I think the last time I reread them was after Towers of Midnight. Was that the second one that Brandon wrote? Towers of Midnight was the second one he wrote, right?
Yep.
After that came out, I reread all the way through to the end because when I was reading it, I realized I didn't recognize half the people that were in the book. I'm like, I don't remember these people, so I started a reread.
That happens.
I mean, I felt like that when I was reading the series in the first place, so I understand.
How many of the kin can you remember at this point?
0.
No, I can't remember any of them. I can't remember their names, but I don't even remember what I had for breakfast. One thing I did find that when I started rereading, I noticed some things that I didn't notice before because I knew what was happening, what was coming. I could see the foreshadowing a little better. And it's been a while now, so I can't exactly remember any specific ones, but there's just so much that he did that when I first read them, I'm like, well, surely he wasn't planning this from the beginning. But when you go back and read 3 books before, he mentioned something about it in passing that you didn't catch before because you didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, well, damn, I guess he meant to do it all along.
Yeah, I remember reading stuff in book 3 that didn't show up until book 8 or something, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So on a subsequent reread, you're just like, there is the first kind of nugget of foreshadowing for something that happens 5 books from now.
Yeah, those are definitely things you don't pick up just on one read through.
Yeah, that's why I'm interested in rereading these books. Obviously, like I said, I haven't yet, but I would really like to because it seems like there's such a depth of foreshadowing that we get in this series and that you obviously can't notice the first time through. And then you do recognize some of these things as you reread it.
Yeah. There's the ones everybody always talks about, in the very first chapter of the very first book, when Tom is talking about the stories he's going to tell, and he tells the stories of, it was Glenn the Eagle and his daughter Sally and stuff like that. Those little details I didn't pick up at first either. And, I missed those entirely.
Oh, yeah. Missed those the first, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. They're not necessarily foreshadowing, but they're little details that just, you don't, until you know the scope and breadth of the world, that you don't pick up and you don't make the connections.
There were some that I didn't pick up until the first Jordan Con when, what's his name, Alan?
Mm-hmm. Alan Romanchek.
Yeah, when he was just like, oh yeah, by the way, that was a Mercedes symbol in the Tamchico Museum. And I was just like, wait, what? Next time I read it, I was like, sure enough.
Yeah, I didn't pick that one up until somebody told me to, but I don't remember who it was.
Well, and that's some of the stuff that we get in Origins of the Wheel of Time, right? Like Michael Livingston talks a little bit about some of that. Maybe not necessarily all of it, but
Yeah, we get some of it in there, but some of it you can pick up on. Like, people did pick up on the Mercedes-Benz logo.
yeah, I'm not saying that the only way to get that is from reading
No.
his book.
Yeah, I don't know if that's specifically mentioned, but a lot of that stuff is in that book, which makes it fascinating because you get a way more of that behind the scenes, even more so than I had known before that book came out. Really makes it interesting. Like, I would love to go back and do another reread now with that book. Plus, like, it may be time that I can actually read the last book again without, like, I had to grieve. Like, I put that book down and my heart broke.
It'll do that to you.
I was just mad
Mad about what?
reading that book.
And this time you can keep the compendium open next to you. That's what I'm doing right now as I reread through it. I'm on Path of Daggers. I just keep it open so when a name pops up, I go, yes, this person, of course.
What drives your rereads? Is it just a desire to, like, see something deeper in the text, or you just love the books and the world, or
There is definitely a little of both to that for me. Like, I have books that I have reread multiple times, much shorter books. Like, I read Watership Down probably 8 or 9 times, and every time I read it, it connects differently because I'm in a different place. I see richer detail within the text, and knowing what happened before or what happened at the end sort of drives how I see things. And the place I am in my life is much different when I first started reading them. And, well, the first couple failed times in the 90s, and then in 2001, when I really sat down and read them, I was 21. And Nynaeve was much different. Looking at her as someone only a couple years older than me, I thought she should have been more mature.
Yeah.
Now, as a 40-something, I'm like, she was just a kid. Like, the weight of everything she was dealing with at 22, 23 was much different than I thought. So, like, there are a lot of things you get out of a second read through that not just finding more details, but relating to the story in a different way. And then just enjoying something that's familiar sometimes, it's just nice. Dad?
I guess it's kind of along the same lines. I was just a teenager when I started. I was a fresh teenager when I started reading the books because I got the first one on my 13th birthday. So I started reading it then. And every time I reread it, I'm at a different point in my life. So you kind of experience everything from a little bit of a different perspective as things go on. When I was younger, 13-year-old, I want Rand's story. Rand is awesome. He's the chosen one. He's going to save the world. Screw Perrin. He's boring. I don't like him. Here we are 20-something years later, and I'm like, Perrin is a methodical and very well thought out person, and I did not give him that much credit when I was younger, but now I have the perspective, having aged 20 plus years. That goes with a lot of the characters in the books. Like, as a teenage boy, I hated reading about Egwene, Nynaeve, all of them. I was just like, I don't care about these girls. I just want the boys. They are so cool. And now I'm like, you know what? Egwene and Nynaeve, they get some of the coolest scenes in the entire series. It's just a massive perspective shift as time goes on. Every time I read it, something else, like, I didn't appreciate this before. I appreciate this a whole lot more now. It may be a bit of a contentious point, but I used to really, really dislike Fael. Now I get it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty contentious.
It just took too long. And she's annoying.
Yeah, so, I still read other stuff. I don't read other stuff as much as I do reread the Wheel of Time books. And you can either look at it as, wow, that's dedication, or you need to broaden your horizons. And it's a little bit of both. But I just love the story, the characters, the world, everything about it so much that it's just a comfort thing.
Yeah.
I can I can literally pick up the books at any point in the book and just start reading, and I'm in.
Any advice for someone who is thinking about doing a reread but is hesitant?
If it's your first reread, you've got the compendium. You can use the compendium now. You've read everything. You can't, I've read this series, like I said, 20 plus times at this point. There is still stuff that I cannot remember about this series. It is such a wide swath of information going on all of the time that I'll have the compendium open. I'll open up a wiki. I'll go to the glossary of another book to figure something out. Like, don't feel like you have to know everything all the time. It goes without saying, like any kind of thing. Just don't feel like you have to be all knowing about it all the time. Cheat a little. You don't want to read the first book? Skip it. Go read some chapter summaries on like the fandom wiki or in the TarValon library. No one's gonna care.
I'm pretty sure that's what Dianna did on her last reread.
I mean, that's smart.
Yeah, I do it. I'll read a few chapters. I'll go read the summaries just so I can kind of get kind of a brain dump of here's the succinct breakdown of what happened in the chapter, right? In case I missed something.
I will also say another idea, if you can focus on audiobooks, do it.
That's another thing. You got another format? Do it in another format. If you read it the first time, listen to it the next time.
Yeah. And if you have a commute,
listen to it again.
There you go.
Yeah. It's like 45 minutes a chapter. So you can get through a chapter a day doing it that way.
And they're releasing the lovely versions with
Rosamund Pike.
Yes, the Rosamund Pike. I had a brain fart. I'm like, Moraine?
It's okay.
She just is Moraine.
And that's the great thing. Like, you don't want the Michael Kramer versions of the books. Go listen to the Rosamund Pike. You've got choices. It's beautiful. You know what? If you've done a reread and you don't really want to reread, you can just watch the TV show.
It'll be similar, like exactly the same.
Sure. Well, like I said, you don't got to remember everything. You just got to kind of get the major story beats down.
Exactly.
Now, some people may say, I want to do the reread, but I hate the slog. You know what? To hell with the slog. If you don't like the slog, skip the slog. Read the chapter summaries.
Or don't read the chapter summaries, just skip the slog.
Yep.
I have known people that have just straight up skipped books and come back in, and they've been fine.
If you can remember enough.
Fair enough. One of my favorite ones was I had a friend who skipped a few books, and he comes back in and he goes, "What are death gates?" I go, "Oh, you missed a very fun, very, very fun thing."
Was this a friend who had read the books? I'm actually, scratch that. It sounds like it was a friend who had not read the books before and was just skipping books because they were bored, they didn't like what they were reading, or...
Yes.
It's not always easy to do.
I had someone who read through several of the books, and they went, I skipped a lot of the world building and only read character dialogue.
Wow.
I mean, I guess it works.
Maybe.
You may not get the full picture. You might have an idea of what's going on.
These are all very interesting techniques that I could never do.
No, I couldn't do that.
I think for me, what helped, and like I said, I haven't reread, but what helped in my first read was splitting up the books. So reading things in between, because when I read it back to back, I just got overwhelmed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I would do that with a reread as well and just break it up a little bit.
It's like 13,000 pages of text.
At least.
Yeah. Audio is about 20 days of audio. 24 hours a day for 20 days.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of audio. So don't feel bad if you have to take a break in between your reread. Read the first two books, like Fenya said. Go read something you really like, so you're fresh and you come back in. You've got the motivation to really jump back in. And don't be afraid if you forgot something. Just pull up a wiki. That's what they're there for.
If you don't want to reread the books but still want your Robert Jordan fix, I'm sure there's fan fiction. Go read fan fiction. Just
go read the Fallon Blood trilogy.
Or don't.
Go read the Conan the Barbarian novels he did.
I mean, if that's what you're into.
We could feel that eye roll through the audio, Doll.
I'm sorry. Oh, he was definitely not a romance writer. But speaking of other things you want to read, what are some things that, if you like The Wheel of Time, you might also enjoy? I'm going to start with the obvious, Brandon Sanderson's World.
It's a good lateral move.
I have a slight caveat to that. And I think that's if you really enjoy Robert Jordan's prose, I'm not sure Sanderson is the right move for you.
No.
That is true.
Sanderson has a more, I want to say, cinematic approach to his prose. Well, Sanderson will even tell you he doesn't really have prose.
Well, I was going to say, actually, that I feel like, at least the way I delineate it, is that Robert Jordan has a very traditional fantasy style, and Sanderson has a very contemporary fantasy style of writing.
That's a good way of putting it. You're not going to get a lot of flowery language or long-winded descriptions. So if we go into Sanderson's work, he has the Stormlight Archive, which is a massive undertaking, and it isn't even remotely done. I haven't even read more than 2 books.
I've only read the first 3.
I haven't gotten around to reading the 3rd one yet, and I think the 4th one came out last year.
4th one came out like a few years ago.
A few years ago.
Yeah.
And the 5th one is on its way?
The 5th one is roughly 50% done.
Yeah. So that would end like the first segment of it, and there's supposedly like 5 more.
Yeah, it's a 10-book series.
If you get started in it, it is going to be that wide scope epic fantasy you want with the world building, but it is going to take some time to finish.
But the nice thing about Sanderson is that he probably will finish it.
Most likely.
Yeah, he probably would have been closer to being done with Stormlight Now if he hadn't gotten tapped to do Wheel of Time.
Well, I don't think Stormlight would have happened if he hadn't gotten tapped to do Wheel of Time.
You don't think so?
Absolutely not. Not the scope he's doing it.
Hmm.
Like, he had got the concessions he wanted to produce the book he wanted by writing The Wheel of Time. Like, he said that himself. Like, he would not have been able to produce it in the way he did, in the scope that he has, if he had not had the clout from finishing The Wheel of Time and, you know, basically Tom Doherty going, yes, finish these books and then we'll do whatever you want.
That sounds like Tom Doherty.
It is. I mean, we want the story finished. We think you can do it. Whatever you want after that, we will do. Like, the full-color pictures that we have in the books, the fact that it is one of the largest books ever published from Tor, like, the first book in this series was the largest book that Tor had ever published. I actually think they had to develop the technique to print it for Towers of Midnight. There's that. Then he has, like, Mistborn books, which there are currently 2 trilogies out.
Well, one's a quadrilogy.
Yes, technically a quadrilogy. And they're set in the same world, but in different times. So each trilogy/quadrilogy, or
Is quadrilogy the term for it?
I don't know. I don't know how you say it. It was supposed to be...
Well, the 3rd book was supposed to just be the 3rd book, but it got so big, he split it in 2, just like What Happened to A Memory of Light, getting split to 3.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was supposed to be a trilogy, but the last book got split because it got too big.
You know how Sanderson is with writing. He'll just conflate it until it's a lot. So outside of Sanderson, any other author that either of you would suggest? I personally, if we're going to talk about Robert Jordan's prose and everything against Sanderson's more contemporary approach, Jenny Wirtz. Oh, neither of you have ever read any of it.
I haven't.
I haven't read any, but I'm familiar with the author. I have a lot of friends who are huge fans.
Oh, Jenny, she does some great work. Her big thing is The War of Light and Shadows. It's like 10 or 12 books, and she's been working on the final one for years now. I go and visit her at DragonCon every year because I'm like, I love your books. Please sign all my books. But not, outside of jumping into her huge 10-book saga, she's got a bunch of one-offs that are pretty good. One that I would always suggest is, now I'm blanking on it because I'm thinking too hard about it.
You have the whole internet at your fingertips.
I do.
On the other hand, if you finished The Wheel of Time, you're probably not afraid of a 10-book epic series.
Probably not.
So the book I was thinking of is Master of White Storm, which is, I would just say read it. I don't want to ruin it because to describe it is to ruin it. It's kind of one of those things. It's got the weirdest framing device of a book I've read because you very rarely get first-person perspective on the main character. It's always told from another character's view.
So what makes it a good fit for someone who's a fan of Wheel of Time?
Like you had mentioned, it is a more kind of classical fantasy. This book was written in the early 90s. It was actually written around the time that the first Wheel of Time book came out. I think it was 90, 92, something like that.
Yeah.
Prose is very thick and flowery for this book, but it's really good. But it tells a story in parts about a character, the main character, Corandir, and his journey to kind of figure out who he is. For me personally, it kind of paralleled, Rand's journey of, hey, you're the chosen one, figure it out as you go along. Well, it's kind of the opposite case with this character, but I don't want to expand too much on it because it kind of ruins the story to do so. but it just worked really well. I've read the book. I've listened to the audiobook of it. I've talked to the author about the book. We actually had a pretty engaging discussion about the ending of the book, and it's probably one of my favorite non-Robert Jordan books.
I'm sitting here thinking, I have completely blanked on every book I've ever read.
I've been trying to think of books ever since we decided this was going to be the topic that we were going to discuss for this episode. I've been trying to think of books that I would recommend to readers of Wheel of Time.
Mm-hmm.
And I really can't think of much except for the 4 books that make up, I don't know if the quartet as a whole has a name, but the wider world is Sherwood Smith's Sartorius Delis books, specifically the quartet that starts with Inda, because it has kind of that same classical fantasy prose. Similar to Robert Jordan, it kind of starts off small, and then the scope of the action gets larger and larger until you have not quite a worldwide event, but something similar. And there are some really, really incredible military battles in it. It's one of my favorite series of all time. Criminally underrated, I think. So I would definitely recommend that. I've seen a lot of books that I've heard are good for fans of Wheel of Time. One of those is The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. I think that's part of a trilogy, the Lycanius trilogy, but I haven't read them myself, so I can't actually recommend them.
Yeah.
And I've heard The Bound and the Broken by Ryan Cahill. He's a self-published author who does kind of that traditional fantasy style, and I've heard those are really good. But again, I haven't actually read them.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who come to JordanCon every year that everybody talks about their books that are really good that I have sitting in my to-be-read pile and haven't read. So,
yeah.
Is it as tall as you now?
Yeah, that's my problem.
There is, from what I'm told, a very good run of books that if you really like Wheel of Time, you'll love it. And the first one, I believe, is called Wizard's First Rule by Terry Goodkind.
No.
You know, if you like a good carbon copy of the Wheel of Time, there's no better place to start than the Wizard's First Rule.
A shittier carbon copy.
I'm kidding if you can't tell.
Is that the one with the evil chicken at one point?
No. I think you're thinking of Terry Pratchett.
No. I'm not thinking of Terry Pratchett.
Oh, no, Fenya would know if it was Terry Pratchett.
Okay. I'm like, that sounds like a Terry Pratchett thing.
No. It's not Terry Pratchett. So Wizard's First Rule is not the Shannara books, right? Is the other Terry?
No, the Shannara is Terry Brooks.
Yeah, that's Terry Brooks.
Shannara is I don't know how to describe it other than it's kind of like Lord of the Rings.
It's another Wheel of Time inspired book that's not quite a carbon copy.
I have not actually read Shannara, but I've watched the TV show, which I understand is very different.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, they have a TV show on Netflix.
They do. I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't think it's good, but I enjoyed it.
It's good if you're a teenager.
Yes. But I think that I actually read I think I read Wizard's First Rule a long time ago, back when I was in high school, and never got into the series. But a long time ago, when LiveJournal was still a thing, there was someone talking about places that the series went, and Kaelin, one of the characters has to deal with this evil chicken, and that is the only thing that I remember. I'm going to see if I can Google this.
Okay, because I haven't actually read all of them.
I actually did find something on that. After reading about the evil chicken scene, let's just say that I kept Wizard's First Rule at the bottom of my reading pile. That was a review from somebody.
Yeah, see? I was right. There is an evil chicken. You would never find evil chickens in a fantasy book.
All right, so we've got a few good suggestions on things that you can read outside of Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson as kind of the obvious lateral move on that. Removing Terry Goodkind, we've got a couple of good things. We had We had the James Islington books. Janie Wirtz,
Sherwood
Smith. Anybody else that anybody can think of at the top of their head?
I'm looking through my Goodreads, and most of my books that I've read recently are not that kind of epic fantasy. So I've got a bunch of great book recommendations, but they're not necessarily appropriate for someone who is looking to read something similar to The Wheel of Time?
I've got a couple of good older kind of fantasy, like late 90s, early 2000. He's been the guest of honor at JordanCon before, but I really like him as an author, David B. Coe.
Yes, David B. Coe is good.
Like if you do his Lon Tobin Chronicles or you do his Winds of the Forelands, he's got two series that sound kind of similar in name.
He also writes under a different name. I can't remember.
He does. He does D.B. Jackson as kind of, yeah, it's weird because he'll do fantasy under David B. Coe and then he'll do everything else under D.B. Jackson. Like he's done a bunch of more contemporary stuff or stuff based on other things. Like he did remember that Robin Hood movie from, what was the actor that did Waterworld?
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner's Robin Hood. He did the novelization of that movie.
The Prince of Thieves.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. How did I not know that?
So if you want to read like some of his older work, he's actually gone back for the Lon Tobin Chronicles and he's rewritten them completely. So if you read the old Tor versions, that's the old version, and if you read, I think it's Lore Seeker Press versions, like if you buy an ebook of it now, you'll get the newer version of it. But those are pretty good standard like not contemporary, but kind of older fantasy stylings. He's also kind of started doing more supernatural thriller kind of stuff because that's just kind of what he's leaned to. He did one under D.B. Jackson recently that I thought was pretty good. I read the first two. I haven't read the third one yet, but they were more fantasy, but they're done under his D.B. Jackson pen name.
And our friend of the pod, Michael Livingston, also has a couple books out. If you like the historical side of Wheel of Time a little more, with more battles.
Go read Shards of Heaven.
Shards of Heaven, and the two others, the Gates of Hell and the Realms of God. They're a little more focused on battles. They're not really my thing, but I know people really like them, and he is our friend and our guest of honor at JordanCon next year. So if, the battles and fighting are what you like, read those books and then come visit him next year at JordanCon.
If you enjoyed the political maneuvering of Wheel of Time and wanted something a little spicier with better spanking, I would recommend Kushiel's Dart by Jacqueline Carey. So one of the things that reminded me of it was because she actually has a blurb on the front of one of the Wheel of Time books recommending it.
Really?
Yes. She does, actually.
Which one?
I don't remember.
I'm going to have to go check this out now.
But I've been a fan of her books for a long time. She actually has a book coming out at the end of August called Cassiel's Servant, which is a retelling of Kushiel's Dart from the point of view of Jocelyn, who is like the main one of the male characters in the book. He's the love interest. So I'm looking forward to that. But it's not... Again, it's not like, don't go into it expecting an epic fantasy in the same way that the Wheel of Time is. It's definitely very fantasy. It has a lot of that same kind of political maneuvering, and it does have much better spanking. So,
I guess the last suggestion that I could make is I feel like it's kind of obvious, but at the same time, maybe not, is Anne McCaffrey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She's got her whole Dragon Riders of Pern thing going on. Takes place, there's 30-something books in that series. Takes place over the course of thousands of years or something like that.
But it does get a little sciencey.
Does it?
Yeah.
It is a little more sciencey.
I've only read the first few of them, personally.
I read a bunch of the books when I was a kid. I think I stopped about the time that her son was taking over the series. And it starts off very... heavy fantasy, not heavy fantasy, because you can see, at least when you're reading it as an adult, I think I missed some of the signs when I was 12, but you can see that this is a very scientific community, an advanced community that has kind of gone backwards in their development because of where they are. But as the series progresses, they do rediscover a lot of that science. And it does become a lot more science fiction-y by the end. I mean, they still have dragons.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get more fantasy than that. But she does manage to make it kind of science-y.
So what you're saying is that, just like Wheel of Time, they have gone backwards in technology. And by the end of the series, they have started working their way forward back to technology.
Actually.
It's just a different world.
It is a different world, but I think it's humanity as a whole. So... very, very appropriate, Thad.
I can't think of anything else right this minute.
Yeah, I'm kind of drawing a blank at this point. I'd have to actually just go and look at my bookshelf because most of the time I buy adjacent to, Wheel of Time.
Yeah, and I personally have gotten to where I can't read a lot.
I've actually been reading something recently. I think there's only the first 2 books on it are out, but I found out about it through a Tor newsletter, and it's from James Rawlin, and it's called The Starless Crown, and it's very classic fantasy.
It has a pretty cover, if I recall correctly.
It does. I actually went and bought a copy of the book, and I'm about halfway through it now, and it's hitting all the right notes for me in terms of it doesn't lean too heavily into the these days I can't stand it when it's European medieval fantasy for 90% of the series.
Yeah.
This kind of doesn't have that, although it kind of does at the same time, but
it's not the King Arthur myth.
Yeah, it's not Arthurian legend, but at the same time it's doing its own thing. I would suggest that if you want something new, because this book is only a few years old, if I can remember right.
Yeah, I think it is a pretty recent release. I think Dave Duncan might be an appropriate recommendation. He's not new. The book in particular that I'm thinking about is The King's Blades. So The Gilded Chain might satisfy that kind of old school fantasy itch.
Have either of you read any Brent Weeks?
I've read, he's the Nightblade assassin.
The Night Angel trilogy was his first trilogy.
Yeah, I read the first book of that.
That says a lot from the look on your face. I read the first book.
I know that he's very popular.
He's more popular for the second series at this point.
Okay. I was not hugely impressed by the first book, but I think that was his first book as well.
It was. The Night Angel trilogy was his first big thing, and I think that led him into doing, it was the something prism, the blending prism, something like that. I've only read the first book of that one, but it was really good.
So I have one for the people who really like the elaborate descriptions of the clothing and the romance and are kind of also Emily Dickinson fans, and that is Mary Robinette Kowal.
Oh yeah, actually.
She has a whole series of Glimmerist histories, which are very light fantasy. They're a very light magic set in a Edwardian style setting where it's always the romance, the protagonist is looking for her man and they have the conflict and then they fall in love and get married. But it also has there's a really cool magic system that's not very high fantasy, but it has all of the pretty costumes and the courtly intrigue.
I didn't realize she did fantasy. I am familiar, not that I've read them, but
it's not high fantasy. It's very, very light fantasy.
The only titles of hers that I know are science fiction.
Yeah, these are, like I said, they're historical setting, Edwardian, very Emily Dickinson style, but there's a very light touch of magic to them. And I can't remember how the magic system worked, but it was kind of cool. But it's very, very light fantasy. But, it's still really fun, and they were really easy to read and great books if that's what you like. I don't recommend them if you're more of the high fantasy.
I mean, if you want the super high, super traditional kind of cookie cutter 80s fantasy, just go read Tad Williams. I mean, there's nothing wrong with what he does, but he is very prime example of kind of 80s fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and Diana's not here, so she can't correct me on this, but I think that she recommends the Dandelion Dynasty books by Ken Liu.
She's talked about those before.
I know she likes them. What I mean specifically is I think she recommends them for fans of Wheel of Time.
Okay. Yeah, we have talked about that before.
Yeah, I have no question she likes them, but I think in this particular context, she would recommend them as well.
I can't think of anything else right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of tapping dry on the well here.
I've got lots of book recommendations, but not for this specific scenario.
All right. I think that gives everybody a taste of where to start.
Or you could just read Wheel of Time again. I mean...
Yeah, that's true.
Like we said at the beginning of this episode, who needs other books when you can just read Wheel of Time?
Yeah, you can just read Wheel of Time for the rest of your life like that.
It's got political intrigue. It's got romance. Not good romance, but it's got romance.
It's got bad spanking.
It's got that shower scene written by Brandon Sanderson that I still cannot believe actually made it into the book.
What shower scene? I don't remember a shower scene.
You don't remember that?
No.
I won't say exactly where it is, but it's something special, let me tell you.
Is that Land and Native?
No, it's Rand when he mists the water around him and, one of his 3 wives.
Maybe I've blocked it out of my head for good reason, it sounds like.
It's not good, but it's the kind of camp that I expect from Wheel of Time.
But yeah, I recommend just keep reading The Wheel of Time and come back and listen to us next time. Thank you all for listening to this episode of TarValon Talks. If you have any questions, you can email us at producertvt@gmail.com, or you can find us in the general forums on the message boards. There's a thread pinned at the top. You can also join us on the TarValon.net Discord in the TarValon Talks channel. Until next time.
Peace out, homie.